and will change.
Gordon Brown there, speaking today in central London with all of the very latest. Well, the gloves are off. The Chancellor Alistair Darling has bankers' bonuses in his sights, and it looks like he'll fire off the first shots this week. Well, joining me now to discuss all of this is Chris Roebuck. He's the honorary visiting professor-elect at the Cass Business School. Chris, thank you so much for coming on the show. Now, you were also previously working for banks.
Indeed, yeah.
and a recruiter, so it's actually essential. Are these guys, the bankers, going to be scared away? It does seem that the government is playing a very difficult role. Now, it's going to elections, so it has to look like it's voicing the people's concerns. But if you alienate the bankers for the City of London, it might be disaster.
I think you're absolutely right, and I think that the government has to tread an extremely fine line at the present moment, because what it has to do is it has to keep the public happy. It has to do something that the public feels is likely to make the bankers think that they need to change behaviour, but it mustn't really call into doubt the ability of the city to make money in the global market. So what is he going to do? I think the question is, he probably has to do something on a one-off, because if he does something on a regular basis, it is actually going to cause an outflow of talent.
But Chris, all of this talk of raising taxes, taxing the super rich, looking at bonuses, is this enough to actually make bankers say, well, you know, forget this, I'm going to Switzerland?
Well, essentially, obviously, bankers work on costs and benefits. That's their business. So if I'm a banker and I'm looking at how much I'm getting taken out of my pay in terms of tax, and I look at another geography where I could be getting significantly more tax deducted or less tax deducted, I'm going to make a business decision about where I should be based on what my employer wants.
But does it seem, I mean, so far for the G20 and all the, you know, the bonus packs, it does seem that the government was talking tough and then also somewhat listened to the city because they were afraid of going too far.
I think you're absolutely right. And what's happening effectively is that they're trying to balance both the public and the bankers. In fact, they've painted themselves into a bit of a corner and they have to somehow get out of it. So I suspect that what's likely to happen is going to be something that will be a one-off and not an annual basis. And I suspect that it probably won't be too heavy. What you have to think about is, for example, Zurich is the same distance in terms of time that Manchester is from London. Zurich, if you're in Zurich, you're likely to be paying somewhere in the region of 29–30% tax rather than 50% here. If you go down the road to Canton Zug, which is half an hour from Zurich, you'll be down to 15%. Now, what will be happening is that bankers will be saying to themselves, well, would I rather have that money in my pocket or would I rather still be in London? That's the decision.
And might still be cheaper to commute from Zurich. Chris, this balancing act, is there a danger that the government actually completely gets it wrong because they won't be able to win over the citizens and at the same time they lose people in the city?
You're absolutely right. It's a difficult balancing act, but I think if they're seen to do something by the public and it's seen by the city as not being too heavy, I suspect that what's going to happen is that the majority of people who are the key players are going to stay in London. Because London is London, just as New York is New York. It's a great place to be. Certainly, however, for those that are at the upper limits, earning significant amounts, you could say that there may be a financial incentive to move to Switzerland, particularly if they can do whatever they do from Switzerland. I mean, let's not forget, the Swiss government is quietly talking to lead performers on the market. They are quite keen to get people to move from London.
What, bankers being based in Switzerland, or is it actively for headquarters as well?
It's both. You know, Switzerland is a small country and it's very happy to take money from bankers in terms of taxes, just as Gordon Brown is.
Chris, thank you so much for all of that fascinating stuff. Well.